Hello, I'm Paul, and in this video, I'm bringing you a really interesting case about a woman named Susan Hernandez, so I hope you enjoy it. Susan Hernandez was 77 years old when the case happened. She is described as a beautiful, wonderful, and very loving person. Her family meant everything to her. She had 7 kids. She was very devoted to them. She used to say they were her life and her world. She married a man named Carlos, who unfortunately passed away 6 months before the case happened in 2015. Susan lived alone in her house in Colorado, United States. She was getting used to living alone without her husband, so she adopted a little dog. And she lived across the street from her daughter Vanessa. Katrina, another one of her daughters, lives 45 minutes away and talked to her mother every day. Katrina said that the first thing she did every morning was call her mom to ask how she had slept. Katrina says that her mother hasn't been sleeping well because she's been stressed out due to a problem with the roof, and she had hired her grandson, Anthony, to fix it. Now let's go to the day of the events. Wednesday, July 28th, 2015. It was morning, and the first thing Katrina did was call her mom. This was around 7 a.m., but Susan didn't answer her cell phone, so Katrina left her this voicemail. "We'll talk later. Have a good day." Katrina went to brush her teeth, but while she was doing it, she started to get a bad feeling and called her mom again. By this time, it was already around 7:15 or 7:17 in the morning, but again, her mom didn't answer. Katrina said she had a horrible feeling. She said she could feel it in her stomach. So she left her house and drove to where her mom lived. When Katrina got to her mom's house, all she could see were clouds of smoke coming out of the house. She also saw flames coming out of her mother's house, specifically from the basement.
Police department can help you?
Yes, there's a fire at my mother's house.
What's burning?
The house is full of smoke. I cannot find my mother.
You can hear how desperate Katrina is to find her mom. She's calling out to her but gets no response.
Mom! But I'm in the basement now.
Then I want you to get out of the house.
Okay, Mother! Mom! Mom!
She goes into the basement where the flames are coming out directly, and the 911 operator tells her to get out of there, that she could get hurt. Katrina answers that she shouldn't worry about her, that she'll be fine. But she's very worried because she can't find her mom, and she's still in this burning basement trying to find her.
I'm here. I'm in here. I cannot leave.
No,
I'll be okay. I'll be okay. Mom! Mother! Oh my God! It's my mom that's on fire! Oh my God! My God! My mom's on fire! Oh God!
Susan Hernandez's body was burning. Firefighters immediately arrived at the crime scene. Detective Raymond Purvis was assigned to the case. When he arrives at the crime scene, he sees that the door was forced open. Inside the house, it seemed like nothing else had been touched. Apparently, everything was in order and very clean. When they go down to the basement, that's where they find Susan Hernandez's body, which not only had been burned, but also had several wounds on the head, several blows. There were blood splatters all over the room, and she had a very large wound, a big hole in her head. Her family quickly gathered outside the house. Her daughters were there, Vanessa, Brenta, and Katrina, and her grandchildren, Devon, Anthony, and Sebastian. Anthony walked over to his aunt and said, "I'm so sorry, Aunt Brenda." They hugged while Brenda cried, and she asked him, "Who did this to your grandmother? Who murdered Anthony in this way? Who could have done this?" The family members were escorted to the police station to be questioned. The authorities also spoke with some neighbors to ask if they had seen anything suspicious that morning. One of the neighbors said they saw a dark blue car around 7 a.m. parked near Susan's house, but not many details were given. A neighbor also saw a suspicious man near her house and also reported that the night before, the lights were on, which is very unusual for Susan because she goes to bed early. The strange thing was that Mrs. Hernandez had no enemies. She was loved by everyone, and people were confused as to why someone would have taken her life. The police were trying to find the motive for why this was done. The first theory was robbery. Mrs. Hernandez kept cash in a box. It was believed to be a lot of money, and the first time they searched the house, they couldn't find this box. Her relatives, who were being questioned, provided this information. Everyone was questioned individually and in different rooms for several hours. During Anthony's interrogation, Susan's grandson, who was helping her repair her roof, he turns the camera and changes seats so his face can't be seen in the recording. He was making and receiving calls while waiting for the detective.
Hello? She was killed, dude. Yeah. My auntie said she found her. She was on fire in the basement.
The detective interrupts one of these calls and asks him to move to a different spot. He started asking him questions about his grandmother. When was the last time he saw her? When was the last time they talked? And what they talked about on that occasion. Little by little, Anthony starts to get nervous and his story starts making sense. The detective notices this and starts making him a bit more nervous by bringing up his criminal record. Anthony had already been arrested before. He spent some time in prison for theft and vandalism. Anthony was always troublesome, even when he was a kid. The interrogation starts to get more serious. Anthony gets more nervous and starts checking his phone. He also starts talking to himself. The detective leaves him alone for a few moments, and Anthony keeps talking to himself. Also looks at the camera and throws up. Eventually, the detectives let Anthony and his family go. But a couple of nights later, a woman runs into some officers on the street. The officers go to her house and ask her some questions.
I'll end up dead like my mom.
The officers ask this woman what's going on, and she replies, "I can't say, I can't, and I don't want to."
I know he killed my mom.
What's your name?
She said she knew who had killed her mother, but she couldn't say it, because if she did, she would die. The officers asked her what her name was, and she said her name was Vanessa. She was Anthony and Vaughn's mother. The officers didn't have much information to solve the case, but they found surveillance videos of Susan in a store around 12:30 p.m. This gave them a sort of timeline to track Susan's movements before she died. They knew she was alive at 12:30 because she was in that store, but they believed that around 2:30 or 3 p.m. she was no longer alive. Because people were calling her house and she never answered. Investigators believe she was killed on Tuesday between 3 p.m., and the house was set on fire the following morning. A week later, the family returned to the police station for routine fingerprinting and photographs. Fortunately, Susan's body was not completely consumed by the flames, so they still had some evidence to work with. For example, they had some fingerprints that were found on her arms, also on her hands, and they also had DNA samples that were found under her fingernails when she scratched her attacker. Hopefully, you'll never find yourself in a situation like this, but in case it ever happens to you, or just so you know and can share it with others in your life, if you're ever being attacked, scratch your attacker as much as you can so their DNA stays under your nails and they can be identified. The DNA found under Susan's nails identified 5 potential suspects: Anthony Sena, Devin Sena, Bruce Sena, and Sebastian Sena. This indicated that the attacker had been one of Vanessa's sons or her husband, but it still wasn't possible to identify which one it was. But the clues led them back to Anthony. One night, Vanessa calls the police to tell them she believes she has found the weapon that was used to take her mother's life. She said it was a hammer she found in the kitchen, and she believes Anthony put it there. The officers took the hammer to analyze it, but they couldn't link it directly to the attacker, since all the suspects had access to Vanessa's house, and any of them could have left it there. They questioned Anthony's family, and his daughter said that on that day she saw bloodstains on her dad's shirt. The evidence pointed to Anthony being responsible. So what was Anthony's motive? Why did he do this? Katrina, Susan's daughter, mentioned that her mom had told her several times that she was fed up because Anthony wouldn't fix the roof for her. She was very angry with her grandson and wanted her money back. Katrina mentioned this. "My mom told me that if Anthony didn't give her the money, she would call the police on Tuesday. And on Tuesday, Susan was already dead. Anthony didn't have the money to pay his grandmother back. Instead of telling her this and trying to work it out, he decided to take her lice, make it look like someone else had done it, and try to get away with it. Eventually, the cash box is found in Susan's closet. They also identified the blue car, which had nothing to do with the case. After 4 months of investigation, Anthony is arrested at his home for taking the life of his own.
She is my kind, loving, and wonderful grandmother. The one who killed my mother with those evil hands had his hands around me, trying to comfort me. He's a sociopath, that's all I can say.
At the trial, Anthony is found guilty and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Detectives say that the most incredible thing about the case is that Anthony almost got away with it. There wasn't much evidence pointing to him as the one responsible. And if it hadn't been for him closing the basement door, most of the evidence would have burned. If he hadn't closed the basement door, the fire would have spread quickly, and the evidence used to arrest him would have been lost. And that's all the information about this case. Please leave your opinion in the comments section, because I love reading them. If you like the video, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed, you should subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. If you want to follow me on my social media, here you can see my mediocre tutorial where I don't post anything interesting, but if you want to follow me, you're more than welcome to do so. Just like on my Instagram, where you definitely should follow me because I post pretty pictures and I'm a bit more active in my stories.